Some roads take you where you're going. Others take you back to who you are. Tucked away in the hills of Middle Tennessee, just outside Nashville, there's a place where time slows down and the road weary find their people. Union Hill Trading Post. Part bar, part time capsule, and a second home to those who live life on two wheels. It's where bikers and locals swap stories, history lingers in the walls, and the beer stays cold. And at the center of it all is Robert Longhurst, a man who spent years both on bikes and behind the bar, serving drinks, turning wrenches, and keeping the doors open for anyone with a story to tell. Because places like this don't survive on just luck. They survive on something else entirely. Let's step inside. If you're a freelancer, you should be focused on creating and getting the next gig, not worried about fulfilling your invoices and all that admin work. That's why I use Mirian. Mirian is the best payment platform for freelancers. Upload your files, send your invoice, and get paid, all in one transaction. Use Mirian at Mirian.io today. You'll be glad you did. What drives you? Is it the roar of an engine? The music that's all around you? Or the fire to overcome your challenges? I'm Chase Akers, creator, motorcycle rider, and fighter. I've made it my mission to break boundaries and rewrite the rules. This channel is about the journey of life. It's about the fact that limits are just the starting line. So, if you're ready to rewrite some rules of your own and find out what's possible, you're in the right place. This is music, machines, and movement. Let's roll. We are here today at Union Hill Trading Post in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. It's one of my favorite bars. I think it's the best biker bar in Nashville. We're here with the owner today, Robert Longhurst. Robert, thanks so much for having us, man. Really appreciate you having me here. We're gonna talk today about Robert's story, how he started the bar, what he expects in the next 3 to 5 years, and anything you want to get into.
Yeah, I bought the building maybe, I guess it's been 4 years ago now. Wife and I live up the street, and this was always a building that kind of caught my eye from riding around the area. Just all the best riding roads are kind of around here. We're in a pretty rural part of Nashville, but still just like kind of 25 minutes away from the city, as you know. So I've always loved the building and got to know the guy who owned it previous to me. Yeah, we kind of became friends, and he wanted to get rid of it, so bought the building, and then took 2 years to kind of turn it into what you see here. So.
And what was the building before?
It was pretty much just a beer and cigarettes retail store. He had some shirts and hats and, you know, 6-packs and stuff.
Gotcha.
You know, snacks, but it was like a gas station without the gas, essentially.
So you, like you said, the building caught your eye while you were riding.
Yeah, for sure.
And what inspired you to go, I think I want to put an old school, divey biker bar in here with high-end offerings?
Yeah, so I've been in the bar business most of my life. I was a bartender for a long time. Obviously love just kind of authentic, you know, classic American bars like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously there's nothing around here, so it was just kind of a natural fit of, hey, let's put in something with domestic beer, some barbecue sandwiches, and that's what we started with, was pretty much just like a few offerings, and it just grew from there. I mean, from day one, you know, it was gonna be my wife and I behind the bar at first, and from day one we kind of got overrun, and we looked at each other after the first week, and we're like, we're gonna have to hire some folks, so that happened pretty quick. And now we've got a you know, expanded lineup of stuff that we sell, and food and liquor and beer.
Now, did you always want to tailor it to bikers, or was that just kind of a natural?
So I always knew,
you know?
Yeah, I definitely always knew that would naturally come given the location. It's just, these were some of my favorite roads to ride on even before I owned the building, so I just knew that that would come just given the location, and
for sure.
Yeah, it would naturally appeal to that kind of crowd anyways.
I think the first time I came here was last summer, because a bunch of my friends have been talking about, you have to go to Union Hill. I'm like, it's the best bar in Nashville.
Okay.
And we come up here, and it felt like I was time traveling. I feel like I'm in the 70s. It's like a piece of home to me, because I've got family from Plainview, Texas, so up in the Panhandle, and all the little watering holes in Lubbock and kind of Midland and that whole area feel just like this.
For sure.
You know, what's on the walls to the pool table.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, this is paradise for a biker. And you got a flat driveway. So thanks for that.
Yeah, happy to. Well, yeah, the Texas stuff comes natural. My wife's from Texas.
Oh, really?
From
What
South
part?
Texas, McAllen,
Yeah,
Laredo.
yeah, man.
So yeah, she lived there for a while, so that was definitely a natural influence for her, and she's been such a huge part of this. So it's been good. And then, you know, my background with bikes and whatnot, and it's on the bar top too. Just all the photos that you see are either photos from the neighborhood, the drag strip that's the oldest racetrack in Tennessee. There's photos from that. There's photos from trips I've taken or races I've done and stuff that people, you know, my friends have shot. You know, so just like an eclectic mix of stuff, history from the neighborhood and cool stuff. So,
can you speak to that? What is your background with bikes?
I've had a motorcycle. I mean, really, since I can remember. I mean, my first one I got when I was probably 13. Yeah. You know, it couldn't ride it on the street then. It was just a little dirt bike that kind of had to fix up and kick. And so I always liked dirt bikes.
Was it like a 50
kind of
or?
It was a Honda XR 250 was my first bike.
Nice.
So I've always loved dirt bikes. I always loved off-road stuff, and kind of never really been without a motorcycle for too long, or at least access to one. But yeah, I've done some, you know, adventure rides, a few races, and don't ride on the street so much anymore, but still got a street bike. So yeah.
Did you compete?
Yeah. So I've done a couple of hare scrambles. I've done some desert races, and I've raced a Baja 1000 twice. So
wow.
Yeah.
So would you say you prefer dirt over street?
100% of the time. Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. There's no cars on the dirt most of the time. Well,
Yeah.
so that's kind of not true. I guess there's trophy trucks when you're racing, but for the most part, there's not as many cars, not as much traffic in the dirt. Just got to worry about trees and animals and stuff, which you know are usually a little bit easier to worry about than crazy drivers. So, yeah.
Do you feel like the dirt makes a better rider?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, if somebody wants to start out riding, especially younger, getting them a dirt bike is, to me, that's the only way.
You got the armor, you got the boots, the full, like, you take a spill in the grass, you're still going to be banged up, but you're not looking at.
There's that, and then there's the fact that, you know, you riding dirt bikes, you know, the dirt bike, and, you know, riding on the dirt, you're not always getting the traction you want. Sometimes the bike is doing something a little weird. Sometimes the brakes lock up, and so you're used to all that, to where when you go to ride on the street and all that stuff happens, it doesn't freak you out as much, and you don't make crazy decisions.
You're used to fixing mistakes on the floor, or addressing problems, rather than, you know, you get your back brake locked up on your Harley on the street, and you're like, what is this? This has never happened.
Yep.
And I'm sure the mechanics of taking corners and you know, learn how to engine brake and doing that in the dirt's a lot safer. Favorite bike you've ever owned?
Man, that is a difficult question
that's
that
the hardest
I don't
question.
think about. And so I had a 1957 Matchless.
Oh wow.
There was a 500cc single cylinder. That was a great bike, super fun. I love old British bikes. I've got a Triumph now, an old TR6.
Nice.
With high pipes on it, knobbies and stuff. That one's a great bike. Old British bikes are hard to beat, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to pick one, that might be it, but I mean, just a 450 dirt bike is also, you know, pound for pound, probably the most fun.
Nothing like the smell of two-stroke motors, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Tell me about your background in the bar industry.
Yeah, so one of my first jobs was I was a bar back, a bus boy at a Mexican restaurant. Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably my first job as an adult, was in a restaurant as a bus boy, bar back, was a fry cook after that, and then kind of from there, I've held almost every position you can have in a bar or restaurant over the past, you know, call it 15 years, 20 years. Yeah, I loved being behind the bar as a young man. Like, it was fun. The atmosphere was great. You know, it was good money for someone that age. Sure. And it allowed me the freedom to do stuff that I wanted to do outside of work. It wasn't like a super corporate atmosphere was kind of, as long as you show up, you do your thing, then, you're good.
For sure.
And, it was just one of those things, you get into it, or you get out of it what you put into it. If you work
That's
hard,
right.
it's pretty simple and
that's right.
gratuity-based stuff. So, just kind of fell in love with the service industry, hospitality aspect of stuff.
And you can really tell, too, that you can tell when founder and owner has held every position in a bar and restaurant, because that culture trickles down from the top.
Right.
When you, when I come in and I talk to your bartenders, they remember my name. And that culture is, I think, what makes a successful bar, especially one that's not corporate, one that's not a franchise, it's a one of one. And that culture comes from the top. When somebody's done everything there is to know, then your leadership translates to that of your staff.
Right.
That's the culture you're creating here.
Yeah, I mean, look, and anybody in the restaurant industry will know you're only as good as your weakest team member. And,
That's right.
And honestly, I'm very lucky to have just an amazing team. I've worked in a lot of bars and restaurants, and all the girls and guys that I have working for me, front of house and back of house, are just awesome.
What is your favorite thing about this bar's community?
That's a long list. I'd say the locals and the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis are just tried and true, old school, honest, hardworking folks that are very laid back and easygoing, and to have a business that caters to them, that they enjoy, and to see them enjoying the business is just, that's probably the most rewarding part of the business, along with my favorite part of, probably just my favorite part of the clientele. So
So you feel like this clientele is kind of an image of the blue collar American. You feel like this is a picture.
100%. No better way to put it, for sure.
Well, I think people get very mistaken about what blue collar America looks like.
Right.
When in reality is, you spend an hour with some of these people, and they're some of the smartest, most intelligent people you'll ever meet.
And just kind. It's a testament to the clientele and the locals in the community. They're just good folks. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So here's what's funny is, I didn't realize that you were Sarah Goodrick's brother.
Right.
For years.
Yeah.
And I've known your sister probably for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, right.
And Sarah and I worked out together. I want to give some context here, because too, having cerebral palsy,
right,
you're on an island.
Yeah.
There's no support. There's pretty much no friends in the game until they make themselves known. Mm-hmm. So I met Sarah when I was published by a local magazine that did a cover story on me, just on my life. And your sister found me on Instagram and said, I have never met another functioning adult that's, doing well in life with cerebral palsy.
Sure.
Can we hang out? And I'm like, yeah, 100%. And I find out she's, high up in the medical field, and I'm like, we go to get, one or two lifts together, and I'm like, this girl's jacked. I can't keep up,
Yeah.
I'm up here riding on my old little Sportster with my friends, and I put on my Instagram, I'm up here at Union Hill, and I get a DM from Sarah. That's my brother's bar. What two worlds collide?
Yeah.
That's the other reason that Union Hill is really close to my heart is, you share a certain understanding of what it's like to walk a mile in my shoes. Maybe not directly,
but
definitely
not directly,
but in support of somebody, in loving someone that has this affliction.
Sure.
Would you just care to speak to that? What was that like for you?
Well, look, you know this about my sister. She's an amazing woman. And strong in more ways than just the obvious. And look, I'd be lying if I didn't, say that she's been a huge inspiration to me. Just looking at her, the stuff she's been able to accomplish, and seeing that, and she's never made an excuse, not once, never
You
tried.
don't see Sarah making an excuse.
And never said, I can't do this. It's always let me see how I can figure it out. So I look at that and say, if she can figure it out and she's not making excuses, nobody has a right to just sit here and complain and whatnot.
You're I can figure out this flooding toilet or this payroll issue, or whatever.
Or if I'm being lazy one day and don't want to get to the gym or something like that, it's like, she's outworking me all the time. So it's
she's
like
outworking me, dude.
Right? Yeah.
100%.
So it's look.
100%.
I mean, it just goes. Everything's just mental. So it's like
What do you feel that you've learned from motorcycling that you apply to the rest of your life?
Oh man, that's a good question. Well, racing specifically, and the races I've done in Mexico and in Baja, they're endurance races. They require a lot of training, a lot of prep, a lot of bike work, a lot of knowledge, planning with the team that goes down there. So when you have a big project, something that seems daunting, crazy, something that you're not sure about, something that you might seem like you're jumping in over your head.
Right.
I think the way that I've learned to deal with, not problems, but just tasks or goals that might seem out of reach, just taking one little nip at a time and being very consistent. Daily stuff, small tasks daily kind of amount to bigger things in the end. So yeah, just kind of trying to have a better outlook on how to deal with large goals that might seem unattainable. It just gives you a little bit of perspective, I think.
Because I'm sure when you cross that finish line in Baja, you look back on your training,
right,
and you think to yourself, I remember training this, but I do not remember training for this.
Well,
and that was a surprise, or whatever that was.
So to be clear, and this alludes to like maybe another life lesson, is I haven't crossed the finish line in the time allotted yet. So
why is that?
So dealing with failure and dealing with your perspective of that, and maybe I've forgotten where I've heard this term before, but retreat to a more useful position. I'll never say never. I'm not done with the racing stuff down in Mexico, but I still haven't achieved the goal that I want to, and not the end result that I want to yet. Retreating, learn from your mistakes, learn what you could do differently, learn how you can train differently, and also like having a perspective of failure, or maybe not, or just not achieving your goal immediately, and figuring out, okay, what can I do differently to make this work, or maybe now's not the right time. How can I do this differently another time, or how can I take a different perspective of it? So that can be applicable in many different things, definitely in the restaurant business. So, for sure.
Because restaurant, it seems, is 1 step forward, 7 steps back, 5 steps forward, 20 steps back.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, honestly, that makes me think that's kind of what I have to apply every time I ride.
Right.
Because I'm going, especially getting on this bigger bike, after getting rid of that Sporty and going to the Street Bob, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
There is a certain level of fear every time I get on the bike.
For sure.
If I hit the wrong angle, if I, make this one mistake, I could go down, break a leg.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
for sure.
It's a lot of people don't realize when you're working with something like cerebral palsy, so an insurmountable challenge, right? Something that should be impossible.
Right.
Every second counts. Every ounce of training counts.
Right.
To not only not dropping that bike, but not endangering the group around me.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So it's that team mindset of, even though I'm not leading this ride, I may not be front and center, I've still got to approach it like a leader. That kind of makes me think the Mexico races are inspiring, because I'm going, okay, what are you training for?
Right.
That I can not only apply to the art of riding, but sit here and apply to life across the board.
Yeah. For sure. As we alluded to earlier, I think just, riding the dirt and getting that physical activity and getting used to a bike not always doing what you want it to. Like,
well, when you're used to your body not doing what you want it to, you kind of go, well.
For sure, right.
See what the machine wants to do today.
Exactly. I think you just can't go wrong with that, for sure.
Yeah. Have you had any group affiliation in the past? Any groups you've ridden with?
There was a group called Blackbirds Assembly that we started. Man, That's been probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Yeah, we rode Leapers Fork, we rode East Nashville, up here a few times.
You were a founding member?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
For sure. And yeah, we still ride every once in a while. We do trips out west and ride off-road. We ride all over the place. So yeah.
Yeah, I knew a few guys in the Blackbirds just from association. So I used to be a partner in a retail store called Franklin Moto.
Okay.
That
nice.
we were around from 2016 to 2017.
Yeah.
That we had become friends with the Moto guys.
Oh, for sure.
We had a few Blackbirds roll through that were
definitely
kind of like
probably Jimmy. Yeah.
Jimmy came through. David Hamby.
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
For sure.
And Caleb Owens.
Yeah, I'm good friends with him. Yeah.
So
he's playing our anniversary party here at the end of the April. So.
No kidding.
Yeah. And he lives just down the street.
What's the date?
The 26th of April.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's our 2-year anniversary. We're having a big kind of mini festival out here.
Very cool. Yeah. What's your favorite thing the bar offers, man?
Our whole thing here, we try and do laid back, easygoing food, burgers, hickory smoked barbecue.
For sure.
So Will Level from Level's Barbecue, he kind of runs our kitchen. A lot of the stuff is locally sourced, very fresh stuff. And so same thing with the drinks, like all the margaritas are fresh juice that we make. We make the mix here in house. We've got a great tequila selection. Even our well spirits, the tequila is 100% agave.
So quality across the board.
Yeah, quality, but we want to have it at a value price point, and you know, have just kind of a laid back neighborhood bar atmosphere.
Yeah.
So.
What do you see for the future of Union Hill over the course of the next 3 to 5 years?
You know, I couldn't be happier with what we've got and the growth that we've had in the past 2 years. We're celebrating 2 years in April, which is a couple months away, less than that. Just continued growth. We want to do more shows out here, more big events. I'd love to be able to just expand that and keep people coming out here from all over. We're only 25 minutes away from town. It might look like we're in the middle of nowhere, which it kind of seems like that. That's the appeal of it, but we're a short ride away, short drive away. Just continued to get folks from all parts of town. So I've got a new project I think you'll be really interested in. Partner and I just bought a building in downtown Springfield, which is
nice.
10 miles up the street north of here. Historic town, small town. We bought the building and we're gonna turn it into something similar to this. Just sort of a classic American tavern, a little bit upscale, but still very like casual neighborhood, family style
Very
stuff.
cool.
So it would be a great destination in the middle of historic Springfield.
Dude, I can't wait to see that. Yeah, my hope is we see Union Hill grow to the point where, you guys just explode.
Appreciate it.
And we, like I said, phenomenal concept, and I'm just glad to be a patron here. And seriously, man, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for chatting with us. So Robert Longhurst here. If you haven't already, come out to what I like to call the best biker bar you've never heard of, Union Hill Trading Post in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. We'll see you here. Hey y'all, it's Chase Akers here. I appreciate you tuning in today to Music, Machines, and Movement. If you're here on this channel, that means you're into music, things that go fast, and working out. So make sure you hit subscribe so we can stay connected. You can also follow me on Instagram at Chase Akers. Till then, keep moving forward. We'll see you next time.